just quickly on the Prime Minister saying that foreign policy won't have a feminist, his comments over the weekend?
Look, I think he had a very constructive meeting in the G20, and you know, we as a government have continuously ensured that there's a lens to ensure gender equality within every aspect of the work that we do, including my portfolio. I think the Prime Minister was speaking in the context of the G20, where, as you know, there was no formal communique adopted by everyone. So he's probably speaking in that context. So I'll leave the nuances to him to talk about.
Can I also ask you about your thoughts about him seeming to dismiss the questions around when the last time he'd spoken with Trump? I mean, he was elected primarily on his posturing about his relationship building with Mr. Trump.
Well, we have a great relationship. As you know, Attorney General Bondi was here along with Rob Law, who is the Undersecretary for Borders. It was a really good expression of the relationship that we have. They were here for the full 3 days. We had some very constructive conversations, and I believe in the context of, I think, the work that the Prime Minister has been doing around the world, he will look forward to having further engagements with the Trump administration. But where he was focused on making sure that Canada expands its trade, Canada expands the work it does with other countries. Thank you.
Thank you. On two things. The Prime Minister this weekend kind of dismissing questions about when the last time he spoke with Trump.
I think the Prime Minister's doing a great job. He's traveling the world. He's building relationships. And, you know, I had a chance to get out and about this weekend, talk to people really across the country, and people support the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister's doing a great job, and I think the Conservatives are grasping at straws when they're more concerned about his air miles than him traveling the world, building relationships and signing deals.
Good. Other thing you said this weekend too was that Canada did not have a feminist foreign policy anymore. Just your thoughts on?
I mean, look, I think Canadians elected the Prime Minister to lead, to put forth a different vision for the country moving forward, and I know he has support. I know certainly the people I talk to are appreciative of what he's doing. They understand what he's doing. The world has changed. We need to pivot. As he has said, our relationship with the States is fractured, and his leadership, I think, is well respected by Canadians.
Just lastly, because he was elected partly on his promise of how he would deal with the United States, and so from talking to your constituents, any concern on how Canada is dealing with the United States right now?
No. Okay. I think he's the right Prime Minister at the right time, at a very critical time for our country, and I know Canadians have confidence in him.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thank you. See you.
See you. Can we hear your thoughts on the Prime Minister's comments over the weekend that Canada doesn't have a feminist foreign policy anymore?
I mean, I think what the Prime Minister said was that our foreign policy takes into account many different things, and how he chooses to categorize it is how he chooses to categorize it. I don't see any issue there.
Any concerns with his remarks when he was asked when was the last time he met with Trump, and the Prime Minister went, "Who cares?"
I think the Prime Minister well understands that the U.S. relationship with the U.S. is incredibly important. I don't think it was meant to minimize anything. Thanks. Have a great day.
I'm absolutely appalled by Prime Minister's comments that he doesn't have a feminist lens in terms of foreign policy. It's absolutely unacceptable. It's certainly reflective of the decisions that we've seen so far. First, with having feminist organizations across the country having to fight for even a minister for women and gender equality, his cutbacks to wage, which feminist organizations had to fight to keep in, his lack of funding in sexual and reproductive health, his back turning on shelters across the country. I think our Prime Minister Carney, is making it very clear he is no friend to women and he is no friend to gender equality in this country.
Can I also ask you about some of his other comments from the press conference, particularly when he was asked when's the last time you talked with President Trump, and he said, "Who cares?"
Well, I mean, I think he's, all over the map with this. We know that, in terms of his dealings with Saudi Arabia, in the past week, his flip-flopping on Trump, placating to Trump, whether it's Bill C-2, Bill C-12 on border control, violating the rights of migrants, violating the rights of asylum seekers, violating civil liberties, that he's placating to the demands of Trump. So he might say who cares, but all his legislation is he's putting forward is certainly echoing the requests of Trump.
Thank you for stopping. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gotta go. Can I ask you about the Prime Minister's comments on the weekend that Canada doesn't have a feminist foreign policy, and your thoughts on it?
Well, I kind of have two minds. I think we should have a foreign policy that has really strong feminist components. The investments that we've made, the previous government made, into projects that support women internationally, I think it's super important. Although, put yourself in his shoes, the plan in question was put in his hands only half-baked. And so the ministers that were in charge of making the plan in the first place never delivered a plan to the previous Prime Minister, but to Mr. Carney. So, a difficult position for him to be in. But I believe in an important agenda in making sure women are part of the peace process. He's part of the security process internationally. It isn't a woke agenda. It's silly for people to suggest that. But I think first and foremost, the investments in projects that support women abroad are very, very important.
Can we ask also your thoughts on his response to when he was asked when's the last time he spoke with Trump?
Yeah, that's just up to him. I think that's his style. I have nothing,
He was elected on his promise of how he would deal with the Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to be at the Americans' beck and call 24 hours, 7 days a week. The Americans and the products that we ship to the U.S. are an important part of our economy. But I can understand. I'm only putting myself. I haven't spoken to him about it, but it can be frustrating to be dangled around like a yo-yo.
Was it wrong for him to say who cares?
It's up to him. That's.
Ministre du Canada.
Je pense que, avec regret, oui. Je sais pas. Il faudrait poser la question davantage pour avoir une clarification de M. Carney. Je pense que c'est important comme pays du G7, le Canada, d'être un leader, un chef de file pour assurer le rôle des femmes dans notre politique étrangère. En même temps, M. Carney est dans une situation un peu difficile parce que le plan qui était proposé était à demi-cuit. Et donc, quoi qu'il y ait des investissements qui sont très, très, très importants que j'aimerais voir continuer avec ce gouvernement, M. Carney avait comme un plan qui était à demi préparé. Donc, c'est la position dans laquelle il se trouve aujourd'hui. Donc, à lui de le compléter, mais on ne peut pas prétendre que le plan était entièrement arrêté sous l'ancien gouvernement non plus, sauf qu'il y a eu des investissements que j'aimerais voir continuer. J'aimerais voir l'emphase continuer d'être mis sur la place des femmes dans le processus de sécurité et les investissements pour les groupes de femmes à l'étranger. C'est pas un agenda woke, loin de là.
Barrett, Mr. Prime Minister comments on Trump this weekend. Any thoughts?
Look, I think that it's incredibly important that we have a government, that we have a Prime Minister who takes seriously, who cares about the job losses that we're seeing. I'll tell you that in my community, that in Maitland, where jobs have left the community, Invista has closed, not because the jobs are gone, they've gone to Texas. And so who cares? Well, the people who lost their jobs care. The people at Douglas Barwick who are seeing their jobs disappear because of steel tariffs, well, they care and their families care. And so we expect much more. I expect much more responsible leadership from the Prime Minister. This type of attitude is beneath his office. And Canadians, we just had an election about this issue, and now the Prime Minister doesn't seem interested in maintaining a trading relationship with our largest trading partner, bar none. So I think that the Prime Minister should refocus and maybe consider redoubling his efforts and start caring about an issue that auto workers, that forestry workers, that people in industries across this country care very much about. Thank you very much.
Mr. Jenner stay in your caucus after so much engagement with Carney?
John, can we hear your thoughts on the Prime Minister saying that, kind of dismissing questions about the last time we talked to Trump?
Oh, I don't think he was being dismissive.
Well, he said, "Who cares?"
He said, "Who cares?"
Well, when someone asked him when the last
Did
time
he say, "Who cares"?
He said, "Yeah." So one of the reporters at the press conference said, "When's the last time you talked to Trump?" And he said, "Oh, who cares? Those are just details."
Well, I think there's a big difference between saying who cares about the relationship with the United States.
He
the
didn't.
last time
I
we
didn't say he
talked.
said that. He said, "Who cares?" The last time
I
you talked with him.
misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, he's not being dismissive. He's overseas in the midst of very important negotiations with our allies on trade deals. He's been very forthcoming, as is the government, about the fact that during a difficult time in our relationship with the United States, it's critical for Canada's productivity and growth that we diversify our trade relationships. That's what he's doing. The relationship with the Americans remains incredibly important, but there are other initiatives that the Prime Minister has to undertake as well. So I think we can look for little things to try to expose challenges in the relationship, but I think what he's doing right now is what's in the best interest of Canada, and that's diversifying trade. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And he has said that he'll meet with the President when the time is right.
So should he reach out then? Should Canada be making more of an effort to reach out to the United States?
I would say they're in contact. You know, I wouldn't say contact has stalled, but I think they'll make contact and a meeting will happen when the time is right.
Thank you very much.
Are we close to a pipeline deal, sir?
Sir, we're talking about trucking. So we move from truck. Listen, Prime Minister has been clear that Canada can be a responsible and sustainable energy superpower, and in many ways, people understand the nexus between economic security and energy security and national security. So, this is something that would have to be looked at in due course. But what I can say is that the world is looking what Canada has to offer when it comes to energy, and the Prime Minister just had a very successful trip in the Middle East.
Can we ask you about your thoughts about?
I'm just late because they're going to be mad at me.
Mr. Ross, do you think a pipeline to BC is going to actually come to fruition or not?
No, that's not what an MOU is basically designed to do. So we've got to wait for the MOU to see the details of what that means. But I don't anticipate anything specific. I anticipate high-level general statements.
Carney said talks with Alberta are constructive. Do you think that's a good sign then?
Pardon me?
Carney said his talks with Alberta are constructive. Do you think that's a good sign that indicates that something might actually come out?
Anything is constructive when you talk in general terms. That's what an MOU will come out as. The MOUs I've been a part of over the years, never been specific in relation to a route, destination, or rights and title, or the idea of national consensus. I think Carney has dropped that term now in terms of consensus. Now they're talking about it's a very unusual situation having a proponent and a government striking up an MOU before an application is made to environmental assessment. So it's a very different process for me to try to understand.
Just generally, how are your constituents feeling about the pipeline going through BC coast?
Well, it hasn't really been an official conversation yet, so I'm not sure. I think that's why I keep saying that the MOU will cause for more discussion going forward, but the application itself will be the real determinant factor.
On a different topic, can I ask you if you saw the Prime Minister's comments over the weekend where he was a little dismissive about when the last time he spoke with President Trump?
where Prime Minister Carney said, "Who cares?" That comment? Just that I think auto workers care, forestry workers care. I mean, anybody associated with the resource industry is going to care. I think the defense industry, they care in terms of where they're going to buy their fighter jets, so a lot of Canadians care.
And lastly, can I get your thoughts on the other comment he made about Canada not having a feminist foreign policy anymore?
Not having a what?
A feminist foreign policy anymore.
I didn't see that one, I'm sorry.
Great, thanks for stopping. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Have a good one.
Or do you think it's a good idea?
I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, as long as we keep the balance, between the economy and the indigenous consultations as well as environment. So it's gonna bring opportunities, right, for British Columbians.
So what if the First Nations are on board then? Then it's shut down?
This is where the dialogue is gonna go, and eventually it's gonna help everybody. I'm sure, when economic opportunities come and indigenous people grow as well.
The Prime Minister said talks between Alberta and this government are constructive when it comes to the pipeline, a new pipeline.
That's never going to happen.
Why is it never going to happen?
Because, we've already done this before. We did this under the Harper government. It got tied up in legal battles. There's just no business case. There's not even a proponent for it. I mean, it's a distraction from Danielle Smith's failure to, support people in her own province. Teachers, she's putting pressure on teachers that are asking for a fair wage, and nurses, and, let's face it. The Conservatives and Liberals right now, they're having a battle right now on who can build more pipelines faster. So, I'm heading into the House of Commons right now, and it feels like, the pipeline wars are happening right now in the middle of a climate crisis. So, completely missing the mark on what's happening. We just had wildfires. The last 5 years, we've seen wildfires like we've never seen across this country. We're in a climate emergency, and this government's, talking about building pipelines to a place where, the Great Bear Rainforest, where we know is pristine. They've built an incredible, sustainable economy, one of the last bastions to protect wild salmon, and they're not listening to First Nations. This isn't reconciliation. This is a failure to, provide their duty to free, prior, and informed consent. And, frankly, building, lifting a super tanker ban, temporarily or, just, ad hoc like this in one of the most dangerous passages in the world is absolutely irresponsible. Thank you.
Expanding Trans Mountain again. This idea
I think
instead of the Northern Road.
I think right now the focus is they're pushing hard to lift a tanker ban that coastal British Columbians do not support the lifting of that. They can use all the polls they want. I live in coastal British Columbia. I know for a fact coastal people do not want that tanker ban lifted. They don't want to see super tankers going through the Hecate Strait. And right now you're seeing a $1 billion economy, being flushed out. I'll be speaking on this tonight on a late show against the government, talking, waiting for real answers from them. But right now they're failing when it comes to their fiduciary duty, when it comes to their responsibility in relationship with First Nations people. And the coastal First Nations have made it unequivocally clear they want a meeting with the Prime Minister. He's failing to meet with them. He needs to meet with them first.
Just really quickly, can we get your thoughts on the Prime Minister's comments this weekend when he was asked the last time he met with Trump? I don't know if you saw those.
What I can say right now is the focus is right now in my home province of British Columbia. They're not meeting with the Prime Minister needs to meet with British Columbia. He needs to meet with the Premier, and he needs to meet with First Nations that are being impacted by his proposal to potentially lift a moratorium on a tanker ban that is in place for good reason. It is one of the most dangerous places to ship in the world, and this is one of the most pristine areas in the world, and it needs to be protected.
McKinnon, what are your thoughts on a new pipeline going to BC? Is it a no-go for you?
I'm just waiting to find out what's going on.
Would you be happy if the pipeline came through to the BC coast?
I have no idea what's happening on that score. We'll have to wait for developments and see if there is in fact a discussion and what it entails.
Can we get your thoughts on the Prime Minister's comments over the weekend that Canada doesn't have a feminist foreign policy?
I didn't hear those comments. I don't know what it means.
Did you see his press conference over the weekend?
Some of them.
Did you see the part? And I'm asking just as far as asking you questions, but any thoughts on the dismissiveness as far as the last time he met with President Trump, or the last time he spoke with President Trump?
I think he said he'd been pretty busy, and I think he has been pretty busy. And I appreciate the work he's been doing and what we've been accomplishing over the past number of weeks, and I think it's looking very good for Canada.